Thanks for being with me today. I hope you're having a blessed day in this time of trouble and turmoil in our world. You know, there's so much stuff going on that it's kind of overwhelming. And here we have people today coming forward saying that we shouldn't celebrate tomorrow the celebration of America's Declaration of Independence from Great Britain and a brave new experiment in self-government that using democracy instead of monarchy, which is an incredible break from the way things were being done back then 244 years ago. So I hope you'll have a blessed holiday and take time to give thanks for all the good things that have come about in America. And you know, there's a lot of things that are dark in America's past, but the overwhelming purpose of America has been to bring brightness and light to the world, to break up the colonial empires and restore people around the world to freedom. America has served as a beacon of hope and an example to other countries to move forward in democracies. And Europe followed in America's footsteps, the French a few years after America and other countries. So we broke off this yoke of hereditary kingdom with oftentimes very corrupt and poor political leadership for the brave experiment of independence and freedom that we have in America. And you know, I think it's important for us to realize that not all the world is free. We're seeing right now in Hong Kong with people losing their freedom to the communist regime of communist China and their very repressive social order, an Orwellian nightmare. I don't know if you've read the book 1984, but if you haven't, I would encourage you to go out and buy it because it's very much relevant in the decay of American civil liberties and loss of liberties in other parts of the world, like in Hong Kong. I'm very concerned about this big climate bill that the Democrats are proposing as a, quote, solution to the issue of rising carbon dioxide. I'm a proponent that what we need to do is to improve the environment so that the environment, the soil, the plants, the oceans and marine wetlands will all soak up carbon dioxide and stabilize or lower the carbon dioxide level globally while we still use oil and gas. These efforts to try to force a transformation of the economy away from liquid fuels into an electric economy are really not sensible because there are so many people who don't have access to electricity where they keep their cars. All the millions of people that park on the street or park outside don't have access to a charging station. This is going to be a real problem if we adopt a gasoline-free or fuel-free transportation system where range is limited and charging is difficult. And then there is the critical issue of the raw materials needed to make batteries, oftentimes coming from corrupt countries that use child labor to mine things like cobalt and other elements that are needed to make a current battery that goes in an electric car. So there's a lot of unrealism and irrational thought that goes into a lot of people's thinking. They think we want to do this so it will happen. We think it can happen. You know, we're doing a study. We did a long study of solar power production in Dallas area because I have a solar energy patent, and before we did development on it, we wanted to see what the actual solar reserves in production was. And we were shocked to find out how many days the sun is extremely variable and never puts out full potential for more than brief periods of time. We measured one June and there were only 2 days that had continuously high power. The rest of the days all had times of loss of power, sharp declines in power production. So if you had been relying on solar power for your primary energy source without backup power, you would be in a really bad situation as your power availability goes up and down dramatically throughout the day. And of course, the sun's only bright for about 6 hours a day, enough to make power at the best of times. So we really need to be realistic. I'm writing a book called Get Real, A Positive Solution to Climate, that'll be out in the fall, and I'll be talking a lot about that in the future and even reading selections from it. But right now, we all need to think long and hard about what we can do to make the world more sustainable in a sensible, practical way. And, you know, there's so much that we can do to make things better. But massive legislation that mandates what is currently kind of the fad technology is badly misguided and will lead to a real loss of quality of life by people. So I'm more an advocate of biofuels and making methane from waste products and making algae production a big part of the American economy. Algae is one of the fastest growing photosynthesis organisms, enormous productivity, and we can really produce a lot of biofuel, but that's a non-electric vehicle future. That's a future with biodiesel instead of electricity. And the good news is it can be filled quickly, has a long range, and with improved vehicle designs and other advances, we can really be much more sustainable and sensible in the way we do. You've heard me talk a lot on this show about loving your neighbors yourself, and that includes loving the people afar, loving the future generations, and trying to be sustainable and sensible. So I'm going to talk a good bit over the weeks and months about being sustainable and correcting some really erroneous information out there that people say and think they're being sensible when in reality they're exactly in the opposite direction. I'm an advocate of grass-fed beef, and many people in the climate activism community advocate for eating less beef, phasing out beef altogether, acting like the world will be a much better place without cattle in it. Whereas in reality, the relationship between cattle and grass is what's called symbiotic, meaning the cattle sustain the grass feeds the cattle, but without the cattle properly grazing the grass actually dies out due to the dead grass shading out the new grass that's trying to come on. So ironically, without grazing, pasture degrades to near desert conditions over time as the grass is stunted and damaged by not being grazed and removing the top growth so that new growth can come in. You know, it seems you would think, and the uninformed activist thinks that somehow without the cattle there'd be more grass, where in reality, without the cattle there may not be any grass at all. So we need more cattle grazed in a holistic way, simulating the results of wild animal herds, selectively, heavily grazing the land for a very brief period of time, and then allowing it a long period of rest to recover before it's grazed again. This so-called regenerative or rotational grazing sharply increases productivity and also increases the carbon sequestration that the grass does, because the grass roots don't die out and the grass doesn't get stunted by having all that shading top growth left on it, not having it spring back into life. So we need to think long and hard and realize that sometimes what seems to be a logical answer is actually not a logical answer. So I hope when you think about it that you'll make beef a part of your dining choices and choose grass-fed beef when you can to encourage that industry and to move away from grain feeding all the cattle. You know, it takes market impulse. It takes people wanting to buy a product to create demand for it that encourages people to produce it. So that's one of the things we can do to make the world a better place, to make the climate a better place, is to encourage good management of the land by holistic grazing, by managing it so the carbon in the soil increases instead of decreasing. We can do so much to totally turn around the rise in carbon dioxide with a comprehensive, aggressive approach to stimulating the environment, stimulating the soil, the plants, and the growth to produce more and better food. I'm excited about the project. I'm excited about my book, which we're working to finish and get the word out there. You know, we need to really work on making this world a good place for children and grandchildren so that humanity continues on and we can do God's work in the world. But we've got to change our ways, friends. It is not enough to say, I'm a Christian, that's all I need to say, because Jesus asks us to give our lives to His service, to spreading the good word and being good stewards of the world and taking care of other people. So we can't be looting the world and living in a way that totally depletes the earth resources in the future and leaves our future neighbors in a horrible situation where they don't have resources to enjoy a good life. I don't know about you, but I'm extremely concerned that instead of being sensible about things, there's a lot of politics going to reward certain industries and certain sectors. There's an effort being shown to try to preserve coal jobs, coal union jobs at all levels, mining, distribution by rail, and the power plants to preserve coal, which is such a dirty fuel, contributes so much carbon dioxide, massive methane emissions from the coal mines, and so much problem that we really need to phase coal out as fast as possible instead of preserving it for the near term and into many decades with this goal people talking about in 30 years us being zero carbon. Let's be lower carbon today by phasing out coal and clean up the air, eliminating the soot and dirt that we emit into the air in such abundance. Yesterday, there was a very light rain here in Dallas that just wet my windshield while I was in my office. And when I came out, I thought, I guess it rained because my windshield was covered in dirt and microscopic dirt that you could see the water puddles, the water drops had hit the windshield and spread out, and where they spread out, there was this fine layer of soot and dust that the rain had swept out of the air. So much pollution. We really need to work hard to lower the level of pollution we put into the air and clean up our world in a better way. A lot to be said and a lot to do. I'm going to devote a lot of my time and energy to promoting sensible solutions to make the world a better place. And I hope that you will continue to watch the show. And as we develop more information, get our website up and do other things, we'll be glad to share that information with you where you can learn more and learn what you can do to help make the world a better place. You know, we've got to produce more and better food, really better quality, to give America a better lifestyle, to start to fight this epidemic of obesity and diabetes that comes with eating a very poor diet of demineralized food. And that's something we talk about a lot in the book, about enriching the minerals of the earth. And that's something that we need to really work hard on to make the world's food supply more sustainable and nutritious. I'm very concerned about the future. I'm very concerned that we are not following God's commandments, that we are not loving our neighbors ourselves. We're not trying to create a happy and harmonious world. We're not being good stewards of what God has put us in charge of. And we've been very short-sighted, and it's time for us to get a lot more aware of the way to treat the earth in a respectful way that increases the capability of the earth to support life of all kinds, wildlife and mankind, and to have a beautiful, wonderful world. So we're going to talk a lot about a lot of issues over the next couple of weeks. Probably have some people on who are doing great things, loving their neighbor directly by doing charitable acts of kindness. And, you know, I'm excited about the good things that are happening here in Dallas with people coming together to provide food to the needy and help people in distress. But the problem is a lot of that food is really demineralized and low in nutritional value. So we have a lot of hidden hunger in the country. We talk a lot in the book about remineralizing the soil, and that's something that really needs to be done as a major effort by man to remineralize the whole world where plants grow with basalt rock dust applied to the land and incorporated into the soil where possible to increase the fertility and growth of vegetation and dramatically improve the quality of the food grown on the remineralized land. Sharply higher levels of minerals are seen in remineralized land that's growing food, and we can do so much to make the world a better place and keep everything in a better state of mind. I'd love to see an end to hunger. I'd love to see a world where all people can live in peace and harmony, and where freedom and choice is a big part of the world instead of the tyranny and oppression that occurs in so many places. One of the reasons why you have a tendency towards authoritarian regimes is because the people are malnourished and not able to think cohesively that they really don't need to live this way. But we're going to have a lot of issues to think about and to try to preserve this wonderful shining light that has been America for freedom and a really wonderful sense of individual possibility and achievement. But frankly, we've left some people behind, and Christian principles are given lip service by many. Many don't even believe in Christ or don't practice Christianity. And if we had more genuine Christians in the world who treated their neighbor as themselves, who loved their neighbor as themselves, they would pay their workers better, they would treat people with more respect, they would create more humane working conditions, they would try to make sure that everybody had a fulfilling and good job. And likewise, if the employee loved his neighbors, he would try his best to do the best he could for his employer to try to make the business succeed as well as possible and to have that satisfaction that comes from having a purpose-filled life. So we need Christian principles to apply in the way we interact with people and the way we interact with our environment. We need to be nurturing and supportive at all levels, and that's something that we can all strive for and think hard about, moving back towards Christian principles and having an authentic faith and believing in helping our fellow man and showing respect and love for others. So I hope that this show will be shown after the 4th of July. Today is Friday, but right before the 4th of July. So I'm hoping after you had a good holiday time that you had some time for contemplation, to think about the meaning of independence and to think about the future of America, and having a bright light where we embrace Christian principles of love and respect and working to make all people good, not by forcing regulation, but through charitable giving and all that pureness that comes from genuine love of your neighbor in a very respectful and positive way. We need a real transformation off a path headed towards destruction. There are forces in this country that are proposing very negative changes, almost all of them coming from a very godless place. Some of them are actually embracing the failed theories of Karl Marx and other people who propose a godless existence where men are subjugated to the will of others, where the majority rules the minority, and where people are not free to keep the fruits of their labor, but are expected to work as a forced enterprise to support others instead of being voluntary giving, which is joyous and is a wonderful and glorious thing. Forced giving or taxation or taking is at its heart a theft, because the person doesn't get to give out of love, but is forced to give up what they have earned at threat of jail. And we need to not have that force imposed in our society in a bigger way. We need people to do acts of charity and help the needy out of kindness, not out of force. And I'm afraid we're headed to a time of more oppressive government, of more restriction, imposition on our lives. And sadly, those that are advocating the most for change don't have faith, don't express love for others. They express this compelling urgency to force people to think the way they do and to embrace their beliefs and to discredit all these men who founded our country, many of whom had big issues. There were real greed. The devil's handmaiden greed was actively at work in our founding fathers in leading them to do things that were really unethical and contrary to their beliefs they were expressing. So they were two-faced about it. And, but I think we have to be aware that without slavery, there would be nobody of African descent in America. And the black Americans of today would not be enjoying the opportunities to have good jobs, to have good careers, to be successful as many black Americans are. They would not be here in this country if it wasn't for the evil of slavery. So it's a two-edged sword. We would be a very different nation if we hadn't had the legacy of slavery for so many years that caused the country to grow faster and be more intrusive. We might have had a different relationship with the Indians had we been a purely free man society instead of having this massive workforce of hardworking Africans doing so much in America and expanding production so much. Hard to know, and you can do revisionist history and say, what about this, what about that? I think we have to really look long and hard that these men were flawed. They had differences that they expressed, but they did create a wonderful system of government that eventually expanded to include all men and women in the society and be more inclusive. So there's been a lot of evolution of America over the years. America of today is a very different country than the country of my childhood and certainly of my father's childhood. We're at a very different place in the world, but we need to make positive changes and be very careful not to throw the baby out with the bathwater. There are harmful things that we need to make changes to make the world a better place, but there are people agitating for so much change just for the sake of change and advocating wiping away the positive freedom to associate and create and having free enterprise where people can start businesses and grow them and create wonderful things that make our world so much better. Look at all the companies that have been started and sprung up that have changed our world dramatically due to the freedom of our economic system. So let's give thanks for that. Let's look at how much better our lives are due to the efforts of people who are out to make money by creating new and exciting businesses. You know, the world has been transformed by innovation, and the creative spirit that's spread worldwide. So the creativity of America has benefited the whole world with the internet, with information, with the computer, with the smartphone, with all the amazing enterprises that bring so much information and freedom to people. But I hope that you will pray hard for wisdom among leadership and for the peace that passes understanding that is so sadly missing in much of our lives as people are strictly on a very greedy, selfish, and oftentimes destructive mindset. So let's all pray for positive things. Let's pray that we can love one another and make our world a genuinely better place for man and nature to succeed and thrive. Have a great day, and please share this show with your friends. Thank you.